Well, welcome to a very special edition of Harry's Garage, because behind me, as you can see, is Jaguar's Project 7. A car I've been very close to since joining Jaguar Land Rover as an advisor back in September 2013 and helping them set up this new division known as Special Operations, with these sort of the key parts to it for new cars or cars being the Heritage, where we did the lightweight E-Types, the 6 lightweight E-Types that we showed first time at Pebble, and the Special Vehicle Operations, where we do the new cars, the collector editions like this Project 7, and then to help develop the cars like the Range Rover Sport, SVR, etc. Now, I'm so pleased to have this car here. I've been like a little school kid since it arrived yesterday, because this is the only one in existence at the moment of the Project 7. It's been doing the rounds, been doing the show rounds, and tomorrow it goes off to the sort of beauty salon to be prepared for Paris Motor Show in a few weeks' time. But here it is outside my house. I've got the keys. So before we do anything else, I think I ought to give you a little tour of what makes this car so special. Right, the key differences with the Project 7. The first thing we had to do to create the look of the concept car that was first shown at Goodwood in 2013 was find a way of changing the nose on the car to this lovely look, this grille that, if compared to a normal F-Type, loses that bar in the middle. I think it's really successful, and then it has that sort of white lips going around the outside of the grille, really distinctive feature. And then if we move up, you can see the stripes going across the bonnet that say Project 7, and that very that splitter at the front, a real dynamic look, because this car has serious performance. So Project 7 comes with a V8 5-litre supercharged engine, 575 horsepower, 680 Newton-metre of torque, which translates into old-style 502 foot-pounds of torque. It's a homage to the D-Type. This is the idea of this car. That it's called Project 7 because it's to celebrate the 7 wins Jaguar had at Le Mans. So that's why it has this very distinctive hump at the back to give it this sort of single-seater look. The decals, just so you know, are optional, but for the show car they seem the right thing to do. And it sheds some weight, serious amount of weight really, 80 kilos lighter than any other Jaguar Roadster with the V8 engine. So it has the carbon sills, it has that rear deck, a pretty serious spoiler, the carbon brakes as standard, and then the really tricky detail, the cut down screen. That's a big engineering feat, to cut down that screen by about 140mm on standard to give it that real speedster sort of look. I should just mention here that the US version of Project 7 is slightly different to the rest of the world version you're looking at here, in that it doesn't get the cut down screen, and the sports seats have side airbags in them. It's all to do with their safety regulations and unbelted drivers, but everything else remains the same on the US version to this rest of the world Project 7, and unless you put them side by side you'd never know the difference. Just love the design of this car. I think one of my favourite angles is this one, where you see that sort of fairing behind the driver. A really distinctive feature that has actually caused us a few headaches, because of course we do this car in left and right hand drive, so we have to do completely different panels, and when you're only building 250 cars in the first instance, it's not something that the financial director gets very pleased about, but it's such a distinctive feature of the car, and it was only right we did it in left and right hand drive for different markets. Just love that line. So with all that firepower and the drop in weight, so 80 kilos down, so 1585 kilos this has, the performance is off the scale. It's speed limited to 186 miles an hour, but the 3.8 to 60 is the official time. It doesn't really give a sense of just how fast this car is, because obviously being front engine and just two-wheel drive, rear drive, it's slightly compromised off the line, so the 3.8 doesn't describe the speed. Have a think that at 575 horsepower top, a regular 458 Spider is 570, so 5 horsepower less, but around 25% less torque, at about 398 foot-pounds against 502 for here. And the weight, this weighs 1585 kilos, and that's within sort of 40-50 kilos of where a 458 Spider weighs. So that's the sort of level performance. It's stonking engine, in basically Jaguar's smallest model on sale, our most powerful engine. great combination. That's why I nickname it the Cobra, because it's just basically over-engined, and that makes it, of course, huge fun. It's been a few months since we first showed this particular car at Goodwood Festival of Speed this year, and you're probably wondering what we've been working on since then. Key things are, we did a huge amount of testing at the Nürburgring. Even though this is fundamentally a pure road car, it just sort of has the bonus of some very good track performance. I can't tell you a lap time, well, I'll go up in a puff of smoke in front of your eyes, but let's just say the F-Type Coupe R, 550 horsepower, slightly less horsepower, slightly heavier, goes around in a 7:39. So that gives you a sort of ballpark of where to expect the lap times for this car. Proper quick car. But it has a completely different front suspension, which I'm going to show you in a moment because I'm going to take one of the wheels off. And because of that, the different actual setup and why we've changed the suspension, caster and camber and all these sort of things, fatter anti-roll bars, means that the whole car, the whole systems have to work through the ESP, the ABS, and how the rear diff interrelates to everything else. So a huge amount of work. That's what's going on at the moment. Well, the first thing that greets you when you take the wheel off is this enormous carbon ceramic brake disc. So 398mm diameter on it, this giant great 6-pot caliper here. But what I really want to show you is this shiny bit here. So if I tweak this wheel round, there we go. Right, if I just grab the camera, there's something that, well, I've only ever seen it on something like a Pagani, but that is bespoke, milled from a solid piece of aluminium upright. And the reason that's on this Project 7 is because it has a unique suspension setup, and we've added a lot of caster, which means that the kingpin inclination, you get more steering feel by doing that, greater self-centering, and also a fair bit more of negative camber at the front, so the sort of top of the wheel leans in to give you maximum grip effectively. You might compromise a little bit on tyre wear, but for a car like this that really doesn't matter. And then if I delve in a bit further, you see there's a revised shock damper unit, and then with this 2-stage springs, actually it might be better from the other side. If I come around here, there's the red spring that sort of basically does most of the work. Right up the top there's another little helper spring, a different spring rate, much softer actually, and that's what gives you the excellent ride at sort of low speeds. And then right at the top, that orange bit is a sort of stiffer top mount. So there we go. We don't normally peer inside the wheel arch, but I thought this is such a lovely structure and such an amazing piece of kit. It was worth showing you. And that's all there just to make the dynamics of this car that extra bit special, that super sharp turning combined with the fat anti-roll bars. It's a very different car to drive than a regular F-Type. The one area I'd love to be able to show you today is how the roof operates. We haven't quite finished the proper working one, but I can sort of run you through how it's actually going to work. You start off, fairly obviously, by lifting the boot up. Inside there you'll take out this manual roof. You'll then bring it to here, clip it in here. These are sort of dummy rail, because this, as I say, is a show car. So these are standard F-Type catches here. You'll put it down there. Another bit off the roof you'll then get out is a sort of support that goes across this hoop and across that one. And it's just a piece of carbon fibre that just sort of supports when you then unfold the roof out like this. And you'll see some slots here, just on the boot area. That's where the roof then fits in. Remember, the boot is open at this point, so you put it there, you clip it onto this thing here which you can't see. I'd dearly love to be able to open the boot on this car. Unfortunately, being a show car, I can't open the boot on it. And at the back here you'll have tensioners, so you'll click that into space, click the other side, and hey presto, you have a roof. Other bits on the inside I just want to show you are these belts. Now, the show car had these harnesses. I'm not a great fan of these on road cars, so these are actually optional. So it's dead easy to remove them. If I do this clip here, this actually pulls out like that. You put that in the glove box, that comes around there, and these seats, oh, this is live, yeah, this is live. If I just move the seat forward, I ought to just add, just here, you still have the electric controls for going, the seat will raise and down electronically and recline electronically as well. So what you do with these harnesses, as I say, they're optional, and then you're just going to pull them through, and just, if you do track days, well then you can have a full harness if you feel like it. But every Project 7 will come as standard with a 3-point harness, so you don't have to rely on the 4-point harness, which can be a complete pain to live with. Right, what else can I show you in here? Unique stitching that goes through the interior, looks really beautiful. It's on the seats, it's on here. These seats are carbon backed but super lightweight. They're part of the lightweight, losing the 80 kilos on this car. The cut down screen. I think the only next thing I've got to show you is one of its most spectacular elements of this car, and that's the noise it makes. Okay, one of the key things to the Project 7 is this is very much a usable car. So we've left as much as we can of the infotainment, all the connectivity still there, reversing cameras and all that sort of thing, because it's so useful on a car like this. Having driven these sort of exotic cars and you're at at an event or whatever, a reversing camera and a full screen on there is so useful to have. So I've got full air conditioning still, I've got the connectivity, I've got my Bluetooth, that's all stays on this car. What's different is we've dressed it with carbon fibre, aluminium pedals behind the wheel, and this stonking engine with the most amazing soundtrack. I should also say the seats, when you sit in the car, although the screens come down, you don't really notice it quite as much as you think you might, because we've managed to mount the seat a lot lower. So I'm sitting much lower than I do in a regular F-Type. So there we go. So I can see where I'm going, reversing. It's so useful to have. If you're trying to position the car at a tight car park, I really like it. 8-speed, fully automatic gearbox, but then I've got the paddle shift and this super quick change we've now fitted to these cars. And naturally I have to be quite sensible with this car, and that's why we're not actually going to go out on road with it, because this is effectively the show car. We'll be driving more dynamic mules later on to the actual production car, so I think I ought to wait until a full road test till then. But I'm lucky enough to have enough of a farm drive that we can give it a little bit of exercise, as I'll now prove. Noise. It's on the downshifts just. Oh dear. Deary me. I think if I wanted to set the record on the drive, this might be the car to do it in. Since this car arrived, I'm now littered with these black lines that this car leaves. I love the way they've managed to set the ESP, so there's always a bit of slip. If you put it in dynamic mode, there's this sort of slips you set off, but it's always holding you there. So yes, the drive from the gates up to the house is now littered with these black lines, these sort of perfectly laid. So, well, it's probably time to stop playing the hooligan and put this show car away. Yeah, I've got 5-mile range, so I think I better stop now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this early look at what Project 7 is all about. We're really excited about it, and I hope you are too. See you later.